Good morning. Happy anniversary. This is the first time we've been in the sanctuary in the United States, in the place that we regularly worship on our anniversary. The last time we were in a church on June 7th, I fainted. The last time we were in a church on June 7th, a bunch of big, burly firefighters came and ran 2 EKGs on me because somebody was concerned that I wasn't going to live to make it to the night of our honeymoon. We did not have a traditional honeymoon because someone was concerned because of the events earlier in the day. And for those who waited to consummate the marriage as we did, I was looking forward to the honeymoon night. So I'm thankful for Edwin Hawkins' song just now that says, "Vindicate me." Guess that's my own personal humor. The idea of vindication is when you've done nothing wrong, you ought to have the privileges that come along with what seems to be fair, right, and just on your behalf. I felt like it was fair, right, and just after having invested everything that I'd invested into us getting ready to get married, that on our honeymoon night, I would be able to enjoy my bride. That didn't happen. But this morning I get to play Vindicate Me. Though the title of today's sermon is Pleading, I wasn't pleading on that day. But there's a lot of times in our lives that we do find ourselves pleading because we want something or need something, we desire something. We may even feel like we're entitled to something that's for us. And so we find ourselves pleading. If you studied really hard and you know you got every answer right, and the teacher didn't grade it right, you may plead your case to get your grade overturned to what you deserve for the work that you put in. If you've tried to do the right thing, and you've tried to serve the Lord, and you've tried to give God your best, and you find yourself in a hospital, you may find yourself pleading for your very life. If your loved one is someone you desire to give more love to, and you see them going through it, and you feel helpless, and you feel like there's nothing you can do, you may find yourself pleading on their behalf. And when you're really pleading, you don't really care what anybody else thinks, what anybody else has to say. You'll plead with all that you've got in you. Judges chapter 6, verse 31 out of the NIV. But Joash replied to the hostile crowd around him, "Are you going to plead Baal's cause? Are you trying to save him? Whoever fights for him shall be put to death by morning. If Baal really is a god, he can defend himself when someone breaks down his altar." Pleading. If we plead, it ought to be for God's glory, not our own. This text is interesting to me. Joash, Gideon's father, means Jehovah supports. It means strong. It means hastens to help. He was the father of Gideon. And yet Joash, like his father Manasseh, did a lot of worshiping of idols. Brothers and sisters, the children of Israel were never supposed to worship idols. Here we are in 2026, living in a world where a lot of people may not realize it, but there's an awful lot of people pursuing the causes of idols rather than pursuing the causes of the great I am. So I want to ask a question. I'll ask it of myself, and you're welcome to ask yourself. What do I do the next time I find myself pleading? First question, first point, is for me to ask me, am I pleading? The text says, but Joash replied to the hostile crowd around him, "Are you going to plead Baal's cause?" In the original language, that word plead means to strive. It means to contend. It means to grapple. It means to work, to consider. And pleading is something that when we want something badly enough, we will do. The idea of the book of Job has a lot to do with pleading. That's the first time that this word in its original shows up in chapter 40, verses 1 and 2. The Lord said to Job, "Will the one who contends with the Almighty correct him? Let him who accuses God answer him." I like how the NASB puts it. Will the fault finder contend with the Almighty? Let him who rebukes God give an answer. Am I pleading? There's times when, whether or not I know what God wants, I know what I want, so I go to pleading. I may plead privately, I may plead publicly. It could be a combination, but if I really want something, I'm going to find myself pleading You may have done it a time or two. You may have done it in the privacy of your closet when you really wanted something. I mean, you really, sure enough, really wanted something. You find yourself pleading. Am I pleading? That's the question I need to ask myself. Before I get too deep, let me call on one of my most trusted illustrators who has never complained about me using him in an illustration. 2.5-year-old Jack Russell Terrier named Deacon. This may surprise you, but Deacon does not speak English. But Deacon's going to teach us something today about pleading. Somebody's been around Deacon and they know what I'm about to say is true. Deacon may not speak English, but he knows how to whimper. It's a whimper. I'm so thankful he's not doing it right now, because these walls are not thick enough to be able to contain. He wouldn't be able to be here. But I'm thankful that Deacon's able to be an honorary member of First Baptist Church, Chilton. He knows how to whimper. Oh, just for clarification, though whimpering is not English, whimper is different than a whine. Whimper and whine are different. Whimper is, one thing, and whine is another. Whimper, kind of put up with whimper for a moment, but that whine, when he whines, it's just different. Whimper might even be a little cute, but whine, when he goes to whining, somebody in the house is going to say something, and I'm not saying that it would be me. He doesn't speak English, but he knows how to whimper. He knows how to whine. He also knows how to growl. And every dog with good hygiene has teeth. And Deacon's got teeth. And it's good that he growls, and I'm glad that he's able to plead his case with a growl, because that's a warning, you're pushing it. You might want to do something a little differently. He's pleading with whoever is in front of him to do something differently. It's not a whimper. Oh, it's not a whine. A growl is a warning. Even though he doesn't speak English, he's pleading in an entirely different way. In all of us, we have different ways of whimpering our way. We have different ways of whining. We have different ways of growling. It's our way of pleading for what it is that we want. And just in case the growl didn't get you, he does know how to bark. It can be loud, it can be piercing, it can be menacing, it just depends on what he's trying to communicate. It depends on what he's trying to plead, because his bark that I'm having an absolute blast, and this is really fun, and let's do more of this, and I like this, and can we go farther, and can we go longer, can we do it more, and can you throw it again, and can I have it back, and can I go get it now, and yeah, that kind of bark is different than there's a stranger at the door. I don't know them, and I don't know if they mean you harm. It's a different bark. It may be a bark both ways, but it's still different. Our pleading might be different depending on what we want and how badly we want and what we're trying to communicate. He's got a sniffle. His sniffle is a plead. He might lick his nose a bunch of times and he sniffles, and it's just a different way of pleading. He's got a howl, he's got a sigh, he's got a groan. He even has a way of pleading that is not verbal. He can just stare. It's interesting how many different things he can mean by just staring. He can be pleading so many different ways. His plead with a stare could mean, I know you told me to go home. I don't really want to go home. So if I stand here still enough and just stare, maybe you'll stop seeing me, and maybe you'll change your mind, and maybe you'll allow me to do something else. or his stare could mean something different entirely. You don't have to know Deacon. You don't have to understand the various nuances and the difference between his whimper and his whine and his bark and his sniffle and his growl. But all of us have different ways of pleading, both with people and with God. I'm not talking about casual requests. I'm talking about pleading. We have different ways of pleading, and some of us get on each other's nerves with the way we plead. Let me just say, there's a difference between glancing at an application and really pleading to get the position. It's not the same. You're not really pleading. You don't really want it if all you do is glance at the application. Pleading is a significant, all-inclusive involvement with what it is that we desire, what we're looking for, what we want, where we're searching, where we're trying to go. Yeah, well, pleading is different. So first thing you might want to ask yourself, I'm willing to ask myself, am I pleading? Do I really want this? Is this what I really want? Pleading. Second question I need to ask myself, not only am I pleading, but whose side am I on? In this text, there's Baal's side and there's God's side. Baal's side and God's side. Many of us would venture to say that there's another side, there's the people's side. And, you know, Joash seemed like he was one of the people. And it seemed like he was on another side. But he realized when Gideon, his son, had cast down the Baal idols, he could no longer just be silent and act like it didn't matter. He had to take a side. And it was time for him to consider who he was going to plead for, who he was going to stand with, what side he was going to be on. And that's the question we need to ask ourselves. Are we on Baal's side or are we on God's side? Like Joash, far too often, we're convicted because of who we're close to, rather than the character that we're called to. Sometimes we don't want to pick a side. We just want to be close to who we like, who we care about, who means a lot to us. Even if they're wrong as two left shoes, we want to be with them and we want to be silent and we don't think we're taking a side. But the truth is, Joash, if you won't stand up with and for God, you are taking a side. If we're unwilling to do what God calls for us to do and act in character, to do what He wants us to do, the words out of our mouth, even if it's just a little whimper, is a pleading for the case of Baal. Psalm 43:1 says, "Vindicate me, my God, and plead my cause against an unfaithful nation. Rescue me from those who are deceitful and wicked." Part of our problem is we often see what they do as wicked and unfaithful, and we don't consider that what we do could be wicked and unfaithful because we give ourselves grace. But whose side am I on? Not only do I need to see, am I pleading, I need to see whose side I'm on. Somebody saw what Deacon does. He can have a very clear direction on what he's been told to do. He was told to go home, but the door to the kennel is open. But he'll just look and lean. He knows he was told to go home, but he'll just see how close he can get. And technically, I guess he's still in the kennel, but He's leaning as close as he can to be outside the kennel, doing what he wants to do, trying to get the influence to do what he desires. It's a way of pleading. And it's according to the law, yeah, you're still in the kennel, but bro, you're not doing what I want you to do. You're not doing what I asked you to do. Sometimes he'll act forgetful, like he doesn't even remember what I told him to do. And he was, oh, I'm sorry, did you say go home? Oh, I was getting ready to do something else. And sometimes, after I've told him to go down, he'll do a little army crawl, and he'll be down, but now he's in a whole different part of the room. In the down position, but he's done what he wants to do, and that's kind of how we sometimes act. Rather than recognizing that we've got to pick a side, kind of like the game of tug of war, this is what picking a side looks like. There is no neutral in tug of war. You're either on this side or you're on that side. You're either on Baal's side or you're on God's side. And brothers and sisters, we've got to choose sides. We have to determine whether what we're pleading for is really worth pleading, and do we really mean it, and are we really willing to stand up for God, or are we trying to just do what somebody close to us is influencing us to want to do, even though it's not God's way? Whose side am I on? Am I on Baal's side, or am I on God's side? Final question. Am I pleading? Whose side am I on? And does God need my defense in this? The text says, if Baal really is a lowercase God, he can defend himself. Baal, the Phoenician Canaanite male deity, he was a conjured up being. And these conjured up beings were defeated by Elijah at Mount Carmel. And it wasn't even a close battle. In Judges 2:11, the Israelites did evil in the sight of the Lord, and they served the Baals. Why is it that the Israelites were going through what they were going through? Because they had decided to do what they wanted to do and be like all the other nations. And if we're unwilling to stand up for God and just go along to get along, to be what everybody else is being, do what everybody else is doing, we'll mess around and plead the wrong case, be on the wrong side. And if we've got to defend him, we really need to question whose side we're really on. The other day, pulled into the garage of the parsonage, and there was a frog in the garage. Deacon saw the frog. He was not threatened by the frog. He could have done whatever he wanted to do with the frog. I'm really thankful he didn't destroy the frog. He listened to me, and we ended up going inside. There was a time not long ago where Deacon was lost. He was not inside the fenced area. And thankfully, the same things that have happened to other Jack Russells in this area did not happen to him because he did not encounter a mountain lion. Because a mountain lion doesn't play. I don't care how big, bad, and strong Deacon might think that he is, he's no match for a mountain lion. And we can think we can handle this life and the things that come our way, but the truth is we really need to recognize who we're pleading for, whose side we're on, and we need to recognize that there's only one worth pleading for, and he does not need to be defended. He's big and bad enough to be able to handle anything that comes our way, and whatever we find ourselves facing. He does desire our dedication. He could demand it. Thankfully, he doesn't. He's graceful enough to let us choose what side we want to pick for tug of war. Do we want to be on his side? Because most of the time when we're trying to tell him what to do, it might be because we're not just simply aligned with his will. We're not simply aligned with what he's telling us to do. He gives clear instructions, and we need to do it his way. Serving God is an efficient state of stewardship, bringing you closer to God or closer to idolatry, depending on what you choose. Jesus pleaded with God, not with Satan, not with humans. Jesus knew what side he was on at all times. He did not have to defend himself. He did not have to defend God the Father. He did not have to defend the Holy Spirit. He simply did what he was called to do. He was born of a virgin, lived a sinless life, willingly died on the cross, and was raised again on the third day with all power, heaven and earth in his hands. I was recently asked about the 6-year marriage. Someone said after 6 years there must have been a lot of prayer. And then they laughed. And I said, I'm not sure if laughter should go after that. Earlier today, my bride had great joy in telling the Sunday school class, I was late, but now I have the microphone. And I stand here thankful that what we've been through, we don't look like. We hadn't even been married a good 2 weeks. And her dad died suddenly, unexpectedly, in a single car collision. We hadn't been married but a few years. Her biological mother died suddenly. I came home from preaching right here. And the dog of 15 years was nowhere to be found. And when we found him, he was in such horrible shape. We ended up putting him to sleep. Very close friends of ours. You all saw and met Horace Perkins. He came right down here and supported us and encouraged us. And he's now gone. My friend Randy was here when we had the celebration that included Mount Sinai and First Baptist Chilton for the installation. My dad is now gone. After the long goodbye. My wife asked me, in 6 years of marriage, how do you handle all that and remain standing? The answer is, I'm not battling what side I will plead for. I will not stand for Baal. I will stand for God. I've put it all in his hands. When I was at Prairie View, one of the songs we sang in the Baptist Student Movement Choir was All in His Hands. I put it all in his hands. All of my burdens, problems. We sang unanswered questions. I put it all. Yes, I put it all in his hands. Whatever the problem, I put it all in his hands. I know that he can solve them. I put it all in his hands. This and that, I put it all in his hands. He can handle it, that's a fact. I put it all in his hands. No matter what you're facing, no matter what you're dealing with, the only one worth pleading to and the only one worth pleading for is God himself. He does not need defending, but he's worth standing with. And if you're pleading, if it really matters, it ought to bring you closer to him, not push you farther away.